Hi, this is Franklin Nolan. Today's date is September 10th, 2015. Covering the waiver of Section 402 Alpha of the Congressional Budget Act with respect to consideration of HR 6550, 95th Congressional Session, First Senate Report Number 95th-358, Docket 95/1 SRPT 358. July 22nd legislation, date July 19th, 1977, order to be printed. Mr. Miniski from the Committee on the Budget committed the following report. To accompany S-Res 217, the Committee on the Budget, to which was referred the resolution, Senate Resolution 217, waiving Section 402 Alpha of the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974 with respect to consideration of HR 6550 to authorize certain appropriations for territories in the United States, to amend certain acts related thereunto, and for the purpose of having considered the same reports favorably thereon, and recommends that the resolution be adopted. Purpose of the resolution: Section 402 Alpha of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974 provides that it shall not be in order in either the House or the Senate to consider any bill or resolution which directly or indirectly authorizes the act of budget, the new budget authority for a fiscal, unless the bill or resolution is reported in the House or Senate, as the case may be, on or before May 15th preceding the beginning of such fiscal year, because HR 6550, which authorizes enactment of the conditional appropriations for fiscal year 1977 and the new budget authority which would become available in fiscal year 1978, was reported on July 6, 1977. A resolution waives Section 402 Alpha, a budget act with respect to HR 6550 must be adopted before this bill can be considered by the Senate. In reporting favorably on the resolution, the Budget Committee is recommending that the Senate proceed to consider HR 6550 and is not prejudging the merits of the bill. Committee criteria: the Budget Committee is extremely reluctant to recommend the adoption of resolutions waiving Section 402 Alpha of the Budget Act. This act was included in the Budget Act to ensure that all authorizing legislation is considered as far as possible in advance of the fiscal year in which it takes effect, so that it could be considered the formulation of the first concurrent resolution. In addition, this section was included to provide the Appropriations Committee with some reasonable notice of indeed appropriations for the coming fiscal year, so that Appropriations Committee can meet the appropriation timetable spelled out in the Budget Act. Legislation authorizing the enactment of the new budget authority, which is reported to the Senate after May 15th, could delay the enactment of the appropriations bill past the Budget Act deadline of 7 days after Labor Day. For this completion of the entire appropriations process, the legislation history of the Budget Act indicates that the May 15th reporting deadline is not to be lightly waived. Under these circumstances, the Budget Committee, in deciding whether to favorably report resolutions waiving Section 402 Alpha of the Budget Act, will consider factors including reporting committees' effort to meet the May 15th deadline, the delay in appropriations process engendered by the late reporting of the authorization, and whether the enactment of the authorization will significantly affect the national priorities establishment to congressional budget. The budget. Budget implication: HR 6550 authorizes a $19 million appropriation subject to authorization for fiscal year 1977, $110 million already provided for the fiscal year of 1978, but not explicitly expressed, subject to the authorization, and new authorization which have not been appropriated, $40 million in fiscal year 1978 and $127 million in fiscal year 1979. The $117 million in fiscal year 1980, $5 million in fiscal year 1981, and $5 million in fiscal year 1982. The authorization contained in this bill for fiscal year 1978 are consent with the assumption of the first budget resolution and will not significantly affect either the aggregate or the functional budget authority and outlay targets, with the exception of the $40 million of the new authorization. The funds authorized for fiscal year 1978 are already contained in a recent appropriations bill. According to the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources, it was requested by the Office of Management and Budget not to act before OMB could review the House-passed measure. It passed on May 3rd. In addition, the Congressional Budget Office could not provide requested cost estimates prior to May 15th. The administration also had not provided required information to the committee on provisions of the bill as late as June. Thus, the committee was unable to meet the May 15th deadline. Except for the Guam typhoon relief, the monies in HR6550 are generally intended for medical care, power plants, capital development projects, and administration in the territories affected. Denial of waiver would be postpone the availability of these funds. Under the circumstances, the Budget Committee reports favorably on Senate Resolution 217 and recommends that it be adopted. HR 522, waiver of Section 402 Alpha of the Congressional Budget Act with respect to consideration of HR 6550, 95th Congressional First Session, Senate Report Number 95-358, docket number 95/1 SRPT 358. Today's date, September 10th, 2015.